Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me, as always, is my good friend live in the Bourbon Life studios tonight, Matt. Matt, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, not much, man. We are. You and I, this is us just live in the Bourbon Life studios tonight.
That's right. We've given it away, man. There is no guest.
I know. We're not going to do our cheesy little song and dance about introducing each other. It's just us tonight.
Yeah, man. It's good. You know, I get kind of gung-ho like JoJo, the Indian circus boy, and I go out there and start booking guests, and then I'm like, oh, crap.
I know. You are. You're the talent agent with the mostest there.
Yeah.
Really stacking them in.
Yeah, I forget to leave a gap, and now we've had a potential cancellation next week, and then a potential cancellation, well, a definite cancellation in 3 weeks. So now I'm like, it may be the Matt and Mark show the next.
Oh no.
We'll have to figure something out, man.
Unscripted and unfactual.
Unscripted,
just like usual.
Unchecked. Unfiltered, unchecked, unfact checked. Yeah, that's the story of the Bourbon Life when it's just Mark and Matt. You know, when we have a guest, it keeps us on track, but when it's just you and me, we just kind of go wherever. But that's what a podcast sometimes is supposed to be about, right? Mm-hmm. Just hanging out, having a good time. So
yeah, but I'm doing well to get back to it.
Yeah, get back to that.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful day, right?
Yeah, to all our listeners who are listening live, happy belated St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
If you're listening on when this came out, this will be 2 days after St. Patty's Day.
That's right. I will probably still be drunk, Matt. That's my,
Yeah, that's your MO on St. Patty's Day.
Actually, you know what? No, because usually I'm working. You know, it seems like it falls during the work week, almost all the time for some reason. Mm-hmm. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't get to head out and do the St. Patty's Day stuff. And then by the time work's over, I'm too old and too tired.
Oh man, one of my favorite holidays is St. Patrick's Day.
Is it really?
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean, do you do anything in particular?
So in the last few years, I've actually started making my own corned beef.
Oh,
so taking the brisket, making the brine.
Yeah.
Brining for at least a minimum of 2 weeks.
Oh man.
So I do it that way. And my specialty, a lot of people might think this is kind of gross. But my specialty, I do corned beef brisket.
Yeah. But
I also, one of my favorite things is I do a corned cow's tongue.
Okay, Matt. Well, we've lost half the listener. No, just kidding. It's a muscle, right? So
yeah, it's excellent. It's one of my favorite.
Man.
Well, I don't know if we'll go so far as to say favorite, but I do enjoy it, especially in Mexican cuisine. But it makes a very killer Reuben.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Because see, I'm a Reuben fanatic, man. So
you wouldn't know if I were to slice you off some of that next to some brisket.
I wouldn't know it was.
You would have no idea.
All right, if you say so, Matt. Well, you might have to bring me some of that just to sample it, man. I don't know that I'm ready for a whole sandwich full of cow tongue.
Yeah.
But you never know, right? But I'm a big Reuben fan, man. So that's awesome. I tried that before, and it didn't work out so well for me for some reason. It just didn't brine right. I did it in the fridge, and it didn't work out, man. But yeah, so that sounds like a good St. Patrick's Day though, making your own stuff. And so what do you do? Just make some cabbage with it, or do you make Reubens, or what do you do?
Cabbage with it, and the whole cabbage, potatoes, carrots, and everything. And then another of my favorites would be the post St. Patrick's Day corned beef hash.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
that's really good. I think the best Reuben I ever had was up at Katz's Deli up in New York City, man. They pile it on so thick, and
isn't that the pastrami?
That's
where you're supposed to get the pastrami, right?
Yeah, pastrami, and they have the with the corned beef. But I got the corned beef when I was up there, and oh my God, dude, it was incredible. And they stack it like, it's like 2 or 3 inches thick on your sandwich, and it just, the corned beef it crumbles. It's thick enough and it's dried out enough that it actually starts crumbling, and it's pretty amazing. But I'd like to get that shipped or learn how to make it like that.
All this talk of food, we should probably thank our sponsors, right?
We should probably thank our sponsors, or we should probably get a food sponsor maybe for the next. We got a restaurant, don't we? Duh. So
yeah, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, speaking of restaurants, let's thank our guest, or let's thank our man, Matt. I've only had one drink tonight. I had a little pregame of Elmer T. Lee. So, but anyway, yeah, we'll thank our sponsor, the Stave Restaurant out in Millville. New chef Kyle Klatka is out there doing some great stuff. They changed the menu up some. Man, they've got this new hot chicken and honey out there. Holy crap, it's awesome. So that's a good one. They've still got some of the favorites like the Stave Burger, which I love, but they've changed up the appetizers and the drink menu. So it's really cool. Go out there and check them out. They're doing live music Fridays and Saturdays. Their little tree house is open out there, so you can go sit out there under the trees. I was going to say under the stars, but there are so many trees you can't really see the stars, but you're on the banks of Glens Creek. It's a really cool little setup and live music every weekend. So go check them out. You can find them online too at thestavekentucky.com and then also on Instagram as well. So check them out and then go out and visit them if you're out on the Bourbon Trail, especially if you're out there towards Castle and Key or Woodford Reserve, because they are conveniently located right in between them. So check them out there in Millville and Glens Creek. And then also 3 Chord Bourbon. We want to thank them for their sponsorship as well. We had Ari Sussman, their master blender, master distiller, on the show last year with the founder, Neil Giraldo. I said it right that time, I think.
Yeah,
right?
All right.
Yeah, so I always have a hard time with that. But Neil is the husband and guitar player for Pat Benatar, right? But then decided he wanted to start this whiskey business, and man, they've done a great job. We had a great time with them on the show, and we really enjoyed everything they have. They got that Amplifier Rye, which was really good. The 12 bar reserve. Man, that's yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, no doubt. And then they did that whiskey drummer. We were talking earlier, Matt, about 15-year-old bourbons that have been coming out, and it seems like there's this secret stash, I guess, of bourbons that's come from somewhere. And I was reading an article today about it, as a matter of fact, and nobody knows where it's actually come from. That's the story anyway. There's speculation that it could be Beam, and there's speculation it could be Heaven Hill. There's speculation that it could be, somebody else now, I forgot. But nobody knows for sure, and it's an odd mash bill. And I think the whiskey drummer, that 15-year-old whiskey drummer, was part of it. But of course, Ari got it and blended it and did his magic. And I mean, he's doing a great job on their stuff up there. But that 15-year-old whiskey drummer was pretty awesome stuff. I was happy to get a sample of that one. Wish I had a whole bottle of it. But check them out online, 3chordbourbon.com. Again, they're just doing some really good stuff out there. So we definitely appreciate their sponsorship, and they're also on Instagram as 3Chord Bourbon. So Matt, with that said, you want to tell everybody who we have with us?
Well, we do have a birthday to announce, right?
Oh, yeah, we do, man.
Yeah, for the Barrel Society birthday, Justin Anderson.
That's right, yeah.
Happy birthday, big guy.
Yeah, happy birthday, Justin, definitely. Hope you had, let's see, I guess, let me think. This comes out Friday. Oh, so his birthday actually will be, I think it's the next week. I think that's the way I did it. I hope.
Well,
I'll have to go back and check.
Justin, here's to you and many more, right?
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Justin. And at least we remembered, right? At least I didn't forget to include Justin for his birthday. So, Matt, just, I was looking around at some stuff that we could talk about tonight. Because, when we have a guest, it's always like, okay, we've got certain questions we want to ask, and then it kind of veers off on a whole nother path. And it kind of flows easily. But when it's just you and me, sometimes it's like, what are we going to talk about? But I guess first we should talk about.
I was going to interrupt you and say we're doing it again.
We're doing it again, Matt. All right, you tell everybody what we're drinking.
Wow, you're the one holding the bottle.
Oh, that's right. I guess I'll do that. All right, so this was a gift. This was a gift to me, to me, from Chad, our guy that does our reviews for us on Instagram and Facebook. So Chad has his Instagram site. It's called My Daily Bourbon. So check him out. But Chad and I went over to. We went to Prohibition Craft Spirits about 2 weeks ago, and actually, I guess it was 2 weeks ago today. And we did a barrel pick over there. Actually, we picked 3 barrels. But before we started, Chad popped this bottle out of his backpack, and he's like, "Hey, man, have you ever had this?" And I was like, "Nope." So he's like, "Well, okay, here." So we all took a little took a little drink or two, and kind of started our tasting off for the barrel pick and on a good note. But this is the High West whiskey. This is the American Prairie Bourbon. This is a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys. This is 96, looks like 96.2 proof. And this is actually finished. Well, this was a pick actually for Total Wine and more, but this was actually finished in Banyuls. And I'm not familiar with Banyuls, but it's a wine in France, I believe, a French wine, Banyuls. So the barrel type of finish is Banyuls. It was finished for an additional 8 months. So this is a blended bourbon. And I'll be honest, Matt, I'm not sure how old this is. There's a bunch of writing on the back, but I'm not going to sit here.
I thought it said does it say on the side?
I'm not going to read all 3 paragraphs. It says it was finished for 8 months.
Okay.
It says what barrel number it is, the barrel type, 4 Total Wine, but it does not say. I don't see anything on the front, which would lead me to believe that it has to be at least more than 4 years old, unless there's some fine print that I can't read on the back. But I'll come back and check that maybe and figure that out. But yeah, so that's the American Prairie Bourbon. So Matt, what do you pick up on that?
It's got a really nice nose, nice juicy nose coming through. A little bit of grape and some ruby red fruit.
Yeah,
some raspberries, blackberry.
That is really a fruity.
The wine
nose.
really comes through on it. It's got a really nice nose, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised at that because it was 2 weeks ago and I was getting ready to do a barrel pick and we drank a little bit over there. So it's like I don't remember it having this this really sweet, it's fruity.
Like, a little sweetness, a little vanilla on it.
Yeah.
Not really catching too much corn or like typical bourbon notes.
No, not
in the least.
Not at all. I actually got a little hint of almost leather there for a second. Interesting. So what are you getting on the taste? Uh-oh. You're like,
I wish we knew the mash bill. It's got a little pepper to it.
Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it?
A little bit of spiciness down the line there, but nice honey to start. A little bit of, I picked up a little honey, a little butterscotch, touch of oak, some of the corn, but the juiciness, again, from the wine barrels is coming through on the palate with it. But a nice peppery finish, real good spice on the end.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me, just off the nose, getting that sweetness and the fruitiness, like you said, and then, it translates over. You get that on the palate initially, but then it's like instantly, like the front of my tongue, just started getting all this spicy, and then it kind of moved through the rest of my mouth here. American Prairie Bourbon.
That's quite pleasant.
Well, good job, Chad.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, I don't know that Chad helped pick this one for Total Wine, but it was a gift from him, which was very nice again. But I'm looking to see, man, I'm trying to see if I could find anything on here about the bourbon, what's in there, what the mash bill is. So I'm going to try to read through that and still keep talking. I'm going to double task here and see.
Everybody's going to be able to hear it at home that you're doing it.
The funny thing is, though, is like when it's you and me, then it's like, well, what do you want to drink? So there's not a whole lot of preparation and planning. When we have a guest, generally they're from a distillery, and we already have 3 things from them that we know that we're going to drink. So it's easy to do the homework and have everything lined up. But then when you and I get together, just us, it's like, well, what do you want to drink tonight? It's like, I don't know. What haven't we drank tonight? What haven't we already had? What are we going to do? And then we just pick something, and it's like, well, I guess we'll figure it out. All right, let's see. This is from the Whiskey Jug. This was a review from just last November, so not that long ago. And it says the distiller was actually MGP and undisclosed, Kentucky, likely Barton. It says the mash bill is 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley. That's the MGP. And then the other is 84 corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley. And it says 2+ years, which is kind of surprising because I would have, I guess maybe that barrel's just kind of overpowering that because I don't really pick up, a lot of grain. When I think of a 2-year-old bourbon, I think of picking up you can really pick up that grain, whether it's going to be like the corn or it's going to be like a corn flake or it's going to be even, that grassy kind of hay taste that you get sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get a lot of, on these younger bourbons, I'll pick up butterscotch sometimes. I don't know why that a younger bourbon to me seems to translate into like a butterscotch flavor, but I'm not really picking that up on this. Do you?
No, I don't either. I don't know exactly what our age is. I think we said we couldn't find it, but maybe a little bit of time in that wine barrel really mellowed this out as well and imparted some of that sweetness and the fruitness that's kind of cutting through a little bit of the youth, if it is in fact a little younger. But I think it drinks well. I quite enjoy this.
It's a little tannic on the finish for me. I'm starting to get a little bit of a drying. You know me, when I get those tannins, I'm like, oh man. Not that it's a bad thing, because I know a lot of people really enjoy that.
Yeah.
For me, it's not really
not your MO.
Not my favorite thing. It's not that it's a turnoff for me. It's not like it ruins the bourbon. But a lot of times when I get that really drying feeling on the end of it, it just kind of takes away from it. But that pepper, that spiciness, like you said, man, that's really just lingering all over my palate still,
Ooh, here's a good question.
What's that?
That just popped into my head since we're unfiltered, unscripted here.
Uncut, unfiltered.
Yeah. What does ruin a bourbon for you?
Matt, that's a good question. For me, I would think, if the nose on it is just awful, if it's something I can pick up way too much, even if it's oak, if I get way too much oak on something, if it's been aged too long, or if it's aged too young and I get way too much grain on it, that's kind of that to me is a little bit of a turnoff. On the palate, gosh, I said, a younger bourbon, I get a lot of butterscotch notes, and it's not a turnoff. That doesn't necessarily make me say I don't like it. I think when I drink a bourbon and it just burns all the way down, I mean, there are some bourbons that you just take a sip and for some reason, and I don't know why, if it's just, maybe my palate that day or something, but when you get that terrible burn that goes all the way down, I don't really enjoy that. I mean, I don't mind a little bit of a burn, but I don't like it when my esophagus feels like it's on fire.
Yeah.
What about you, man? What's a bad, or what would you consider?
Oh, the few things when I put you on the spot, the couple things that came to mind for me. One would be melon.
Oh, okay.
If it's got any sort of a melon note,
gotcha,
on the nose, or
we talked about
palate,
that. That's right.
Or it's got that creaminess of melon. That for me,
we had that experience at our barrel pick at Bullet. That's right, didn't we?
Yeah, was that at Bullet that we picked? Yeah, that's right.
I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of taste melon on this, and you're like, oh
yeah,
yeah.
But I have a thing with melon.
I get it. Yeah.
I really don't. I shouldn't generalize that all younger, or this is a characteristic of younger bourbon, but when I taste something and it just tastes it like I'm in a barn.
Yeah.
I'm not one much for straw,
grass and
grain.
straw.
Yeah. I think there's a certain amount that is endearing that I really like. It shows that a bourbon's got some time to go before it's there, but it
right.
shows promise. But when it's just overpowering, it almost feels sometimes like something in the distillation process just didn't go right. Maybe they made their cuts a little bit wrong and left a little bit too much of the heads or the tails in, and it tastes a little bit grainy. It's got too much whiff of ethanol on it. It's just
I get it.
It's not cohesive.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that one. And then I guess I should say, on the finish, when I get a ton of tannins, that's something that I just can't. Oh, here's another one. Now that I'm thinking about it, Matt, speaking of tannins, leather. I don't mind when I get a note of leather, if I can smell it, or even if I can taste it. And yes, I do. I don't know how many times, I have to explain when I say that and people go, how do you know what leather tastes like? It's like, you know what? I just do. All right. Yeah. So when I drink something that has a really overly leathery note to it, that's just, I can't do that. And we had I can't remember who it was, but it was it was a finished bottle, you know. And I seem to get that leather note in a lot of wine finished barrels, but it's not overpowering. But there was one, I can't remember what it was, but man, the leather on it was like in your face, and that was all that I could taste was just leather, and then it was tannic. So it was just like two things that I was like, nope, this is not my jam at all.
Well, I can tell you, maybe you don't want to drink the 2018 Old Forester Birthday Bourbon.
Is that a good descriptor of that?
Oh, for me, that bourbon to me felt like I was chewing on a saddle covered in tobacco.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, it was a big miss.
Really?
For me.
I don't think I've ever, well, I think I would remember that. So no, I have not had a 2018 birthday bourbon. And you know, it's funny because, you know, when it's coming out, you know, people line up for it, which I'm not opposed to that. I mean, hell, we've done it, Matt, you know, so.
Guilty is charged.
Yeah, man. I enjoy doing that, but I have seen or heard people posting and talking about the birthday bourbons, just saying that the quality over the last few years has not been up to what it was, you know, in the early 2000 teens, the 14s, 15. I don't know, because I've never done side by side comparisons on that. But it seems to be a common theme that I've noticed over the last couple of years, that it's like, oh, well, this isn't as good as, you know, this year, and this year's not as good as the year or two before. So,
I wonder if with Old Forester's popularity taking off, they're kind of diminishing their supply.
Yeah, of
some older stuff.
That's a good question. But you know, there's stuff. I'm just trying to think of what we had.
We had Jackie.
I mean, there's stuff like
they climate control, so
yeah, so it's like 4 years old, 5 years old.
4 years, but they get a little bit more out of it,
right? With the climate control,
in the rick house, but. I think the birthdays are like usually what, 8 to 10 or 11.
I think so. Yeah, so they're usually older stuff. So I don't know. You think that they would? I don't know, man. I've just, it's just one of those things I never get my hands on. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to have it, just to have it and try it, but just one of those bourbons that, you know, last year or year before last, I think it was like 90 some degrees in September, because it's Labor Day, right? Or September 1st, I think, is their birthday. So it was the night before, and people started posting pictures of people lining up, and you know, they're on the sidewalk downtown Louisville, and it was like 90 degrees at 8 or 9 o'clock, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to go drive to Louisville and sit outside in a chair at 90 degrees on the sidewalk, waiting for a birthday bourbon," you know. But now, you know, if somebody wants to give me one, I'm definitely I'm gonna take it. There's no question about it. But yeah, so that's funny you say that. So I'm gonna have to see if I can track one of those down, or at least give it a try. Of course, I don't want to go out to a bar and spend $35 on a shot that's gonna taste like.
I don't know. I might be out of my mind here. So you might actually want to just to see if you're
right. Yeah, Matt, I always trust your palate though, man. So you're never off base, man. These master distillers get on the show, and it's always like, Matt, that is such a great question. And I'm like, wait a second. What about my questions? And they're always like, Matt, you nailed that. That was a great description, man. That was right on the money. And then I'm over here like, but it's sweet and it's a little spicy for me. So no, man, whatever you say, man, I'm gonna go with that. So, well, we've actually reached the end of this first round, Matt. Just rambling on. I hope we have people still listening to
yeah, that's right.
to us.
So hopefully you set your iPhone or whatever to turn off, because you're probably asleep now.
Yeah, with that wonderful review. So,
yeah.
All right, back to this High West American Prairie bourbon. What do you think, Matt?
I'm enjoying it. I like it, I got to say.
Yeah.
You are right. Maybe a little bit of tannic on the finish, but it's got good flavor, a really great nose to it. It's not a typical Kentucky bourbon nose or typical Kentucky bourbon flavors, so something a little bit unique. Yeah. I like it.
And it's funny because, you know, I'm starting to pick out, and maybe just because I'm looking for it, that little hint of leather in there, but it's not, it's just so minute. I can just find it. And it, you know, it's funny, Matt, because I always say, I'm not a fan of finished bourbons, but the more of them I drink, the more I'm like, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm kind of coming around to these, you know, the finished well, especially like the Angel's Envy, you know, I mean, I enjoyed the regular Angel's Envy and of course the rye that's finished. This was actually really good. And there are several others that we've had that I've really kind of surprised that I'm enjoying those. So who knows, but maybe I'm going to develop my palate and become a Scotch drinker, man.
Maybe.
Never going to happen. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll pour up for round 2, and we'll get a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with the Bourbon Life Podcast. Everybody just sit tight.
Hey, Bourbon Lifers. When you're out hunting for those hard-to-find bottles or just enjoying the distilleries of Central Kentucky, you're going to work up an appetite. And when it's time to refuel, we suggest that you visit our good friends Rebecca and Eric Burnworth at the Stave Restaurant. Located at 5711 McCracken Pike in Millville, Kentucky, close to Castle and Key and Woodford Reserve, the Stave Restaurant is just off the beaten path, nestled on the banks of Glens Creek. With a newly redesigned menu, Chef Kyle Klatka prepares amazing food each day featuring an elevated Kentucky-inspired cuisine. You can take our word for it. The food alone is worth the trip to the Stave. With a full-service bar, great bourbon flights, and signature cocktails, the Stave is the perfect place to catch up with friends after a fun-filled day of touring the local distilleries. And you can even purchase bottles of bourbon to take home with you while you're there. Make sure to follow the Stave on Instagram and Facebook at The Stave Kentucky, or visit them online at thestavekentucky.com to stay up to date on everything that's going on. The Stave Restaurant is a bourbon lover's paradise, right here in the heart of bourbon country.
All right, everybody, welcome back for round or session or period or whatever, number 2 that you'd like to call it, of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me, as always, is my good friend, my buddy, and he's still wearing his toboggan in the house, even though it's 65 degrees today. Matt, what's going on over there, dude?
At this point, I think I'm just wearing it to keep my hair out of my eyes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, man. Matt is what we like to refer to as a long-haired hippie, okay? So
that's right. I have to use the back door to get in.
Yeah, we make him go around the back way.
Don't let hippies in the front.
That's right. And the sign said, "You long-haired hippie people,
stay outside."
All right, man. So we're moving on here, Matt.
That's right.
And we have moved on to a bottle that was sent to us as a gift. And this one came from Widow Jane. And we had Lisa on the show with us, Lisa Wicker.
Yep.
Lisa Roper Wicker.
Awesome guest.
Yeah, she was, man. She is probably, Matt, if we had an award for probably the best unknown
yeah, exactly.
master distiller, I think she would win that hands down, man.
Yeah, the person that nobody knows enough
seriously.
about.
Yeah.
Is absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, and it's crazy to say that, and I don't mean that in any way offensive to Lisa, and I'm sure she wouldn't take it that way, but it's just, you know, she's just not publicized. I mean, Widow Jane is just not a brand. People know of it, but the stuff that she's done, the places she's been, man, it's just crazy. And when we were doing that show, the whole time I'm just sitting there like, what the heck, man? I mean, super impressed with her. But yes, so they sent us, they were so kind toward the end of last year to send me this bottle of Widow Jane, the Vaults. And this is actually aged for 15 years. And this bottle is beautiful. The label is beautiful. It's got this black band.
I love that black and gold.
The black and the gold, gold metallic lettering. So this says it's a collection of our oldest and rarest, aged 15 years, a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys. And this is released in 2020, of course, bottle number 3031. And this is this is 99 proof. Obviously 15 years old. But I'm looking for the mash bill, Matt. And, you know, I failed. I did not do the research on that today, man. So
it doesn't say anywhere on there, but it does say that it's a blend of Tennessee and Indiana.
Oh, okay. You see, I'm glad you saw that because I was looking and I didn't read the whole thing. There it is. I see. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. So if our listeners want to get that particular, you can probably do some surmising of where it might have come from in Tennessee and where it might have come from in Indiana.
I have an idea, maybe.
So with that in mind, you could probably piece together a mash bill, but we don't know the blend.
We don't know the blend, the percentages. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this one came in Dude, it was so cool. And I put a picture up back in probably November or December, whenever it was I got it. But it came in one of those old metal ammo cases, Army, the lockbox, it's like a giant, it's just a big rectangle. It's metal, and it's got that latch on the one end that opens up, and they used to carry, I'm not sure what size rounds were in those. But yeah, so they used those and repainted it, and they put in padding, and they had that bottle stuffed in there, man. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I got this package.
Well, it's the vault, right?
Yeah, it is the vault, right? So it's like you're opening up a very secure package. But I was thrilled to get it, and have not cracked it, Matt. I've been saving this for you and me, man, for a special occasion.
And this is it.
So here we are. we don't have a guest. It's a special occasion, right? There you go. It's a Tuesday. It's a special occasion. So what are you picking up on this, Matt?
It's got a good amount of oak on the nose.
Yeah.
Certainly not an overwhelming amount.
Yeah. It's funny because it almost has like a peanutty kind of flavor to me on the nose, and I don't know if it's maybe just some reason the oak that it's hitting my nose, and I'm perceiving that in almost like a peanutty kind of way. But I don't know. It's kind of weird but I do see what you're saying on the oak for sure. And this has got a really, I mean, it's not like super dark, but it's got a very nice amber.
Yeah, beautiful color.
Yeah, it almost looks like a I used to drink a lot of beer, but it looks like a Killian's Red almost. It's got kind of that amberish, reddish flavor to it. So I do like the color of it.
I get a little bit of honey on the nose, a touch of maybe like a butterscotch or a brittle.
Yeah,
something sweet. But then there's corn. I get like some good depth of corn on it as well.
See, I just keep getting sweet, and I can't put my finger on what it is, how that is coming across to me. I keep getting that oak, and again, it's just for some reason it's almost like a peanutty flavor to me too that I'm picking up, that I keep getting out of there. But it's kind of weird.
Ooh, that's delicious.
That's very good, but I'm going to tell you, I know right where the Tennessee came from, I think.
Yeah.
I have a feeling. Because I pick up a little bit of that. You know what I'm talking about?
I never get it.
Okay.
But I know what you're saying. You're picking up the Flintstone vitamin.
Just a touch.
With like that fake cherry powdery flavor.
That little Flintstone vitamin. And sometimes when I get it, it's like so overpowering, and so it's just like, no, I don't like that. But this is just a faint hint, and maybe I'm just, knowing that it was Tennessee, maybe I'm just looking for that, Matt.
Yeah,
I don't know, but my first taste, that's I picked that up. Definitely sweetness again.
Yeah, I'm getting more vanilla coming across on the nose, like a little bit of nougat as well now.
Yeah, I do like that. There's a bit, not as much spiciness as that High West that we had, but I still get I get a nice full mouth feeling on this one.
Yeah, I agree. It has a really great full mouth, very complex. It's just, it feels more complete.
Yep, I agree.
On the mouth, it's not like a whole bunch of front palate or this crazy tannic finish on the end. It's a very mature, well balanced that's flavor and finish.
I think that's the way I was gonna exactly, Matt. That's what I was gonna say. It's that High West, it was like right on the front of my tongue. It was very spicy, but that was really about it. But with this one, it's like I feel that all over, I get that coating all over, even on the and I don't get that burn, when I drink it at all, which is nice. And it's not tannic. I'm not getting any. I'm not at 15 years. I was kind of anticipating that this one was going to have a little bit of a drying effect on it, but I don't. I'm not really getting that, that drying sensation or that tannic kind of taste to it at all in the finish. Very unique.
Yeah. So speaking of Lisa as a master distiller, man, we had a pretty good run of guests.
We did. The last
few shows.
We've had some great guests. Connor from Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
And
Connor, Wes Henderson.
Wes Henderson from Angels Envy.
Of course, the Belfours.
The Belfours were, I mean, dude,
What
that
a
was
riot.
that was so much fun. And his daughter and I, we follow each other on Instagram now.
Okay.
And I commented, they actually posted a link about our website, or I mean our podcast episode, and I commented back to her, and she commented back, and I told her, all right, next time you've got to be on the show as well.
Yeah.
So we've got it planned at some point that, and her name's escaping me at this point. I can't remember what her name is, but anyway, she'll have to be on the show next time. But man, that was a lot of fun, Matt.
Yeah, it was.
And then Harlan Wheatley, of course, we had on, and Chris Morris with Woodford Reserve. And, Matt, honestly, that, here's the thing. And I've said it before. When I first started drinking bourbon, it was just whatever I could get in college, mixing it with Coke and whatever. And then when I'd have a Woodford Reserve, I'd drink it on the rocks, and I felt like I had arrived as a bourbon drinker. You know, it was like, oh man, I feel like I'm a real bourbon drinker now because I'm drinking Woodford Reserve. And I think over the last 5 or 6 years, maybe, or even longer, with all the other brands coming out, you kind of drifted away from Woodford Reserve. But after having that show with him, man, I've just developed a complete and total new love and respect for what they do. I mean, so
Woodford Reserve, I agree. For me, it was always, if somebody had a bottle of Woodford Reserve that they broke out, it was a good night.
Yeah.
Like we were drinking like kings.
Exactly right.
And queens.
Yes.
And I couldn't agree with what you're saying more, Mark, that it seems there's more and more coming out into the market. And it's unfortunate because I feel that I kind of push Woodford Reserve aside. But I got to say, anytime I'm out at a restaurant or a bar and I can't come to a decision, I'm never, ever disappointed ordering Woodford.
No, I agree with you, man. 100%. And their stuff, it's right at that 90.4 proof, which is so funny. But all the stuff they're doing, even their experimental stuff, the 5 wood's good. The multi, was it 3 grain or 4 grain? I can't remember which one. I think it was 3 grain. 5 wood. Of course, the double oaked.
Which is should be a standby.
It should be. I mean, so seriously, goodness gracious, I wish they'd have that on a regular basis. But I was looking up there because I got that bottle of the Masters Collection, that 16, not the 16-year-old, but it's their 16th edition that just came out. That's really good. And in terms of news, Matt, here's a news story that I'll share. Woodford is coming out with this year's release of the batch proof.
Okay.
And it will actually be, well, we're recording on Tuesday, so it's actually going to be tomorrow, Wednesday. You're listening to this on Friday. You're 2 days behind. So
you're late.
You might want to call the distillery, but they usually have quite a few available out there. So I think the retail on it's probably going to be like 120, I think 129, something like that. But I mean, it's Woodford Reserve at batch proof, I mean, it's like 100 and I wrote it down. See, Matt, I took notes on this.
128.3.
128.3. Yes, sir. There you go. See, Matt, I knew I could count on you to keep me on the straight and narrow. But yeah, man. So, Woodford Reserve, 90.4 proof. It's a solid drinker. But this batch proof, I'm looking forward to really, I'm looking forward. I may go out there tomorrow and pick up a bottle. So we'll see. It's for our next episode. We could have Woodford Reserve batch proof, 128 proof, man.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think so, for sure. So, but yeah, I agree, man. I mean, really, really solid guests that we've had lined up. We got some more coming up over the next couple of months that I'm pretty excited about as well. And, and that's, to me, that's kind of a challenge. It's a fun thing is when we first started, it was like, good God, we just need to get guests.
Yeah.
We just need to find people who'd be willing to spend an hour and just hang out with us and talk to us. And I remember getting, I guess when you got Denny Potter on the show with Maker's Mark, and I was like, yeah, that was, I guess, last July. And we'd already been at it for a while, but it was still like, man, that's big time. We got Denny Potter on the show. But yeah, so I just decided last year that there's no reason why we shouldn't reach out to these distilleries. I mean, people love their stuff, these bigger distilleries. It'd be fun to talk to them and get their point of view on things. And I've had a lot of fun talking to these guys. And that doesn't mean I still don't enjoy, we've got a lot of craft distilleries lined up, which is going to be a lot of fun as well. And we got people that aren't even distillers necessarily, people that are just in the industry doing things. And that's really, I think, what our goal was, to not just make this about master distillers, but just the whole thing about sharing stories from people that are in the industry, that are in the industry, So
Yeah. Helping people tell their bourbon life.
That's exactly right. And speaking of the Bourbon Life, we do have a new website, which is up and running and functional for the most part. It's 95% of the way there. We're still tweaking a few things on it, but it's thebourbonlife.net. So if you want to get more information about us and about everything that we're doing, just go there. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. It's got all of our social media. It's got our YouTube stuff on there as well. It's got all of our podcast links on there. You can check it out. Information, got some stuff you can buy on there as well. You can schedule a tasting if you want to do a virtual tasting. We can do those online. So yeah, just a lot of fun stuff. So check out thebourbonlife.net if you get a chance. So Matt, I don't want to put you on the spot, but we've had a lot of good guests. So what's been your favorite over the last couple of months, man? Have you had one?
Guests?
Yeah.
I think the Belfours.
I figured. Yeah.
I've got growing up in Michigan and playing ice hockey for 14, 15 years. I think it had to have been sitting down with Dane and Eddie.
So now, were you a fan of his? I mean, did you like?
So I got to say, growing up in Michigan, I was a diehard Red Wings fan, and of course, he played for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
So
I got you.
I had to kind of by association hate.
He was one that you had to hate.
For.
Yeah, you had to hate him because he was
one of those situations where you got to hate him because he was so good too.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. And I'm not a hockey guy, so I don't know, but just based on what I read about him and how long he played in the league, number one.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he won not just the Stanley Cup, but the gold medal for the Olympic team for Canada, and then also the NCAA championship. I mean, the dude is obviously, he's obviously pretty awesome at what he did, man.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But
certainly no doubt about it.
They're putting together some good stuff too, man.
That's what I was so surprised about. Yeah. A couple of things that really surprised me about that.
Yeah.
Number one, sweet mash.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were doing sweet mash. And so for those of our listeners that might not know the difference in the mashes, the sweet versus sour.
Yeah.
So think of a sour mash, which is, would you say it's typical?
Yeah,
right?
most. I think most distilleries are going to go with a sour mash just because it's. I don't want to say it's easier, but it's less.
Saves money, saves time.
Yeah, less involved and less risk of bacterial infection.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so think of that as like your sourdough bread, where you leave a little bit of your starter behind, of your culture behind, and you use that to start each batch. So as they're cleaning out the tanks and dumping the tanks after each run, you leave a little bit for the homies, right?
Yeah, there you go.
To start the next batch.
Good way to think of that, man. Sourdough bread, right?
Yeah.
Starter.
So that would be your sour mash.
Yeah.
Whereas a sweet mash, you go and you dump your cask, you dump your vats that everything's been fermenting in.
Yep.
And you completely get in there and scrub it all out, and you start from scratch.
Yep.
No contamination, nothing from the batch before.
Yep.
So that would be the sweet versus sour. And one of the big names that's coming up more and more for the sweet mash would be Wilderness Trail.
Yep, exactly right.
I think,
yeah.
I don't know if anybody's doing it as well or as publicly as they are with sweet mash.
I'm racking my brain here thinking of people that we've talked to, Matt, and honestly, I can't think of anybody else that's doing the sweet mash. I mean, I'm sure that there are.
Yeah.
But like, see, I don't remember like Alan over at Spirits of French Lick, if they are or not, if he's doing sweet mash or not.
Was Frey Ranch, were they sweet?
I can't remember, Matt. I hate to say that. But there are probably other people out there doing it. And Alan just seems like the type of guy over at Spirits of French Lick that would do sweet mash just because it would be a challenge, and he seems to be that type of guy. But I agree. I was very surprised as I was doing more research on those guys and on Belford saw that they're doing sweet mash with their stuff. I'm like, I mean, based on what we learned at Wilderness Trail, it's like, damn, I mean, that's a lot of extra work.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of extra work. It's
Yeah.
more extra capital going in because you don't have that extra bit of leftover fermented product to help your fermentation process.
Right.
Am I making that up?
No.
Probably.
No, you're right on. I mean, you're right on. So that surprised me. So you said there were a couple of things that kind of surprised you.
And then the
So-
second thing, and I think we touched on this already, was that they are actually the ones distilling. Ed and Dane
Yeah.
are the ones in there
Yep.
grinding grain, making mash bill, throwing down batches. They're not sourcing. I was expecting to hear a story about source product.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
the case at all.
Yeah.
They are the ones boots on the ground making that product.
Yeah. And I mean, they're doing it at other distilleries.
Correct.
But they are doing
renting
it,
out distillery
Yeah.
space. But
which is crazy because you just, I really like you. I just thought, okay, here's a guy, made some money. He's a hockey player. He's a pro athlete. He's got a ton of money. He's trying to reconnect with his kids.
Yeah.
They're going to do this fun project and they're going to put their names on it. And, they're going to take a lot of cool pictures of themselves. And it was
the
like,
name Terry Bradshaw comes to mind in this. I don't know the story behind his brand. Maybe Terry's actually distilling, but
I don't know. I'm thinking probably not so much. But you never know. You never know. But it's funny because I was thinking about that as we were having this conversation about the Belfours. But man, I was really shocked, like you were, about how hands-on they are with everything. I was just really, really surprised about that. So I'm looking forward to see what those guys do, man, because they seem like they're on the right track.
you and I both.
Yeah, it seemed like they got some good things going on, and I'm curious to see where they end up landing when they're going to build that distillery. And the question is where. So I'm hoping it's around here.
Yeah, the closer to me, the better.
Oh, dude, that's funny. Well, Matt, we are actually we've reached the end of round 2. So before we wrap it up, though, let's get back on this Widow Jane, this 15-year-old, the Vault. What are you thinking?
So the longer it's sitting in here, I'm starting to pick up like a creaminess and a little bit of orange on the nose.
Okay.
Like a really nice, deep, complex, oaky, orange, creamy nose is coming through.
Okay.
And the palate's just getting more and more inviting. It's just really good. It's mature. It's got really complex flavors. The oak is in there. There's a little bit of sweetness, some honey or brittle or butterscotch, and just a really complete drink from nose to palate to finish. It's like a complete thought that nothing is out of place. It doesn't strike the palate too harsh in the front or the back or leave a really long, cloyingly dry finish or anything. It's just really good and really complete. And I know that I've seen this written up in a lot of different magazine articles for being exactly that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree, Matt. It's, I'm pleasantly surprised because I think I was thinking maybe a 15-year-old might, especially when I initially on the nose, because I did pick up that oak, but it's opened up.
Mm-hmm.
But that that oakiness. I mean, yeah, you do pick it up on a palate, but it's not overpowering. It's not overwhelming, and it is a very nice blend of different. I get that spiciness. I get that. Still get that. Like I said before, it's not just on the front of my palate; it's all over my mouth.
Yeah,
I still get the sweetness from it. So yeah, when you say balanced and complex, I think that's probably
like a really good oily mouth coating, a nice toasty flavor to it as well. Like really, just a nice warming, toasty, oily, all over the mouth palate.
I feel warm now. I mean, I feel
you look warm.
I'm warmed up here, Matt. I'm getting good here.
Look out for session round
out
period
for round 3. All right, man. All right. So I think that's 2 thumbs up for us on this one, I would say for sure.
Yep.
So, and again, thanks to Widow Jane and to Lisa.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. For sending this out to us. So we really appreciate that and happy to finally crack it. It's been sitting on my shelf for so long. I'm like, we need to crack that thing. So this was the perfect opportunity to finally get to do that. So, all right, with that said, Matt, let's wrap up this round, and we'll get a word from our sponsor, and we'll be back with more in just a few minutes.
Hey Bourbon Lifers, we want to take just a second and tell you a little bit about Three Chord Whiskey. Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they call perfectly tuned taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them all together. After each blend is completed, the Three Chord team then applies their proprietary process of pyrolysis, that's a lot to say, isn't it? Which involves heating American oak to precise temperatures to release specific flavor and aroma compounds. Then they use another proprietary method called rhythmic disruption process, and that's more than just playing music to a bunch of barrels, which integrates all of those related compounds into the blended spirit. Finally, each small batch blend of Three Chord is evaluated by a trained sensory panel to ensure an uncommon depth of flavor, character, aroma, and a perfectly tuned taste in each bottle. With their introductory blended bourbon, their Amplify Rye, Strange Collaboration, which is a Pinot Noir finished Kentucky bourbon, their 94 rated 12-bar reserve, and the brand new highly coveted 15-year Kentucky bourbon they call the Whiskey Drummer, there's a lot of options available from Three Chord. Like the feeling you get when you hear that perfect song, you'll know that the Three Chord line of whiskeys are right from the first sip. They resonate with so much flavor, you'll want an encore. Find out more about Three Chord whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for round session period 3 of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me, as always, is my smirking buddy over there, Matt. Matt, how you doing, man?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm warming up over here.
Yeah.
Getting well lubricated with the prior rounds that we've had here, so I'm ready to head into round 3 here. But this one's something you brought tonight, Matt. So
yeah,
why don't you tell everybody what we got here.
That's right. Come on, it wouldn't be an episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast if I didn't bring a rye.
That's true. That's a good point, man. That's a very good. You know, Matt, if you guys don't know, Matt is a fan of rye whiskey. There's a little Bourbon Life Bingo. We haven't done that in a bit, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do love a good rye or a good high rye.
Yeah,
bourbon. So this that I brought is, I'll call it a budget bourbon.
That'll work.
But this is the Old Overholt, and this is a special one because this is the 114 proof. So this is a special release of their straight rye whiskey. And unfortunately for all of our Kentuckians out there, this particular 114 proof 4-year straight rye whiskey is only available in Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder why they do that. Why they limit distribution just there. So that's kind of an interesting point. But now you said this is kind of the rye version or the rye answer to one of my favorites.
Yeah, to Old Grandad 114. So this is also a Beam product.
There you go.
At 114 proof, kind of a budget, cheaper man's option that kind of a working man's rye at a good proof. And
how much that set you back?
I'm not gonna say it. I paid more than $32.
Okay, yeah, because the Old Grandad 114 is right around generally like $29, $30, $32, something like that. So
I think a similar.
Okay, well that's good.
Similar price point, and it's a Pennsylvania rye.
Yeah.
So I don't have the mash bill in front of me, but I believe that's not going to be the 95.5 of Indiana or a Kentucky 51.
Or 51, yeah.
I think it's in the 70% rye. Don't quote me on that, everybody. Sorry. Remember, we are unscripted and unfactual.
No fact checking allowed tonight,
That's right,
folks. We're just winging it, and that's what we do best here at the Bourbon Life Podcast.
You're right, Mark.
When we don't know what we're doing, we just wing it. I do like the color on this one too, Matt. For only 4 years old, I mean, it's not dark, but it's got a nice color to it.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice.
Good grain on the nose. That the rye really comes through in the graininess, which we were talking about how with bourbon, a lot of times the grain can just make it taste or smell like hay
or grass
or a barn. But
yeah.
With the rye, it just reminds me of the bakery. That fresh baked bread.
Yeah.
Like the grain coming through that way.
It's funny, Matt, as soon as you said that, I was like, Yeah, definitely see what you're saying. I was like, what was, what was that? I thought something exploded, Matt. It was Matt. Matt exploded over there.
Excuse me.
Yeah, right over there, dude.
Yeah.
And that rye got to you, huh? That 114 was
About
like,
to be better.
whew. Yeah. All right. I'm going to give this. I'm going to go ahead and take a little sip of this one, Matt.
It's got a little, pick like a little bit of mint or dill on the nose as well.
Woo. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think a little herbal, a little sweet on the nose.
I'm not able to pick up much tonight. I don't know why. For some reason, yeah, I know, but the taste, it's like, holy cow.
Yeah, that's good rye.
Yeah, it is.
It's not overpowering.
It's not.
I don't think.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say holy cow in that like, oh my gosh, it's burning me up. For 114 proof, I'm really surprised.
Yeah.
Especially for what, I mean, again, you say a budget rye, and you think it's going to be like rock gut stuff. But man, I mean, I'm really surprised, Matt.
Yeah.
At how easy this drink, and I'm getting them on the finish. It's almost like now it was spicy, but now I'm getting almost like a minty, a minty, like after you use, I don't want to, it sounds kind of gross, not gross, but after you do a mouthwash, and then you get that kind of mentholy experience as you breathe in. I'm almost getting that kind of a sensation off of this.
Yeah,
So-
the palate's got good rye on it. It's not overpowering. Like I'm not getting a ton of pepper. I'm not getting a ton of spice, but I also am not picking up a whole ton of corn. It's got nice rye. It really leads to that bread, the good grain taste on it. I'm picking up, again, like a little bit of mint, a little bit of dill coming through on it. It's just got a nice, just like really sharp, crisp,
Yeah.
almost apple.
And I still get a little bit of
green apple.
I still get a little bit of sweetness to it as well, though.
Yeah, like finishes, let's loose like a little honeysuckle or something.
Yeah. That's really nice, man.
Yeah.
That's I'm very surprised, man. I was thinking, what do you bring me here, man? You never steer me wrong, though, dude.
I try not to.
Never, man. So, holy cow! Now I'm gonna have to go to Ohio. So is that pretty much on the shelf? I mean, is that an easy finder in Ohio?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was.
So it's just walk in and
Yep. They also have an 11-year.
Oh, really?
Yes, an 11-year Old Overholt rye. I forget the proof on it. It was, I think, around $80 or $90, but it's in the same bottle as the Old Grandad 114, same glass.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, in that the short squat with the wide mouth.
Yeah.
I passed on it, but
Have you ever had it before? Or?
I've not had. I think it.
But 11 years.
11-year.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if it's outside because a lot of those ryes.
A lot of ryes hit that sweet spot around 5 to 7 to 8.
Say, yeah.
You start going too far and you lose that really beautiful young rye taste to it.
Yeah, we've talked about that on the show actually before, where you lose that what the characteristics that make a rye really enjoyable, and you just tend more towards the barrel, I guess, at that point. Where with a bourbon, I mean, I guess 6 to 8 generally is going to be kind of that sweet spot for a bourbon, but even that, the 15 we just had, obviously we picked up the oak on the nose and a little bit on the palate, but it wasn't overly oaky. So, but I wonder with an 11-year-old rye where that ends up and whatnot. Matt, I'm going to say, man, I'm quite surprised and quite impressed with this one. Talk about that Old Overholt. When I was down in 2019 and went down to Bardstown Bourbon, and it was before they have their new big fancy tasting room where they have all the old bottles. They used to have it just in a back, all these bottles back in a back room, just like a bunker.
Yeah.
And they had a couple bottles of Old Overholt, but they were like 1909 or 1907. I mean,
Man.
crazy years. I did not taste it. Now I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I didn't at least ask if I could try it, because they were pretty kind that day, and we got to sample several different things when I was down there. But I did not ask, and now I'm thinking I probably should have asked, because that would have been a pretty unique experience to be able to say I drank a rye whiskey that was made 110 years ago, man. But for you said this is 4 years old, right?
4 years, right on the bottle.
Yeah, man. Crazy. Now I wonder, do you know who Old Overholt is?
No, it's got a signature at the bottom from A. Overholt.
Okay, so obviously someone somewhere,
A. Overholt Jr. Yeah.
somewhere, sometime in history that did
Yep.
something or whatnot. You know, I mean, because obviously old granddad is Basil Hayden, so that makes sense. So obviously Overholt, I'm assuming, was somebody, but now that wasn't a Beam brand, I'm assuming, the whole time. So that's I don't think it was. I don't know.
Basil Hayden?
No. Overholt.
Oh, Overholt.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking we'll have to do some research on that, Matt. I'll have to do some research on that, and maybe I'll write a blog about that on our new website, thebourbonlife.net. Check it out.
Ooh, content.
There you go, man. I've got some ideas for some content on there, Matt. So I think because I love to write, and hey, I wrote a book. Did I tell you that before?
I knew that. I don't know if our listeners knew that.
Bourbon Life Bingo.
I think this might actually be the first time that's come out on the show.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, hey, I wrote a book, but I do enjoy writing. And I think, now that we've got the website and we've got a space where we can do a blog, I think it might be fun to start writing some things about the bourbon industry, bourbon in general, or just things, just stories. That's what bourbon's all about to me anyway. So I think it might be a lot of fun. So, hey, any listeners, if you got stories, ideas, or things you want to hear or know more about, let us know. Maybe they'll become a story for the blog or something.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I've got one picked out, Matt, but I'm not going to tell you about it because I don't want our listeners to know until I actually write it.
Oh, so you're not even going to tell me about it?
I may tell you about it when we're off the air because I don't want to ruin it, because
I'm plugged into the exclusive here.
you're in the exclusive Bourbon Life room now. All right, man. So getting back to this rye, what else are you getting on this?
So the nose is getting a little bit sweeter the more it's sitting in the glass here and airing out. I'm picking up more honey coming across on it.
I just can't get over the palate on this, dude. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, and the finish on it that just keeps going. At 114 proof too.
Yeah, it doesn't drink that hot.
Not at all.
Kind of drinks almost dangerously
pleasant.
pleasant.
This is one you'd pour a glass and be like, oh, I should probably have at least another 2 or 3 of those maybe.
Yeah, this could be the summertime rye here.
Hey, and I was thinking too, Matt, in terms, because, I love old fashions. Mm-hmm. And this is one, man, there's no doubt that rye, that spice would shine through, that sweetness of the sugar in an old fashioned. I bet that would make a killer old fashioned.
All right, fine, I'll take one.
All right, we'll have to work on that. I have to make some simple syrup. I'm kind of low on that, man.
Seems like a recipe section on the website.
There you go, recipes. Oh, hey, that's a great idea. We should think about that, Matt. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll have to put my corned beef recipe on there.
I'll have to go back to the web designer and say, hey, look, here's another idea. Here's something else we want to do on the website, okay? All right, so Matt, let's see. News. I'd like to try, when it's just you and me, I like to talk about some news and events. So the Kentucky Bourbon Festival is coming up it's September, but tickets actually went on sale today or yesterday.
Okay.
The VIP tickets went on sale about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they sold out like instantly. And I did not get any of those. I'm disappointed, but that's okay. But the tickets went on sale. It's September 16th, I think, through the 19th down in Bardstown. So they're going to it's going to be live, so it's not going to be virtual.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So I plan to go down, and you can buy a tasting armband so you can sample and taste as well. I think they give you like a wee Glencairn when you get there with your admission, and then you can just take that around, and I think you get samples wherever you want to go. So I think that's the plan. But that should be a lot of fun. I was wanting to go. Of course, last year everything was locked down. The year before was when they did the Bourbon and Beyond Festival. And that was the same weekend as the Bourbon Festival. So yeah, it kind of clashed. So I had to make the decision to do the Bourbon and Beyond Music Festival. But this year I'll be headed down to Bardstown.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that, man. I think it'll be a lot of fun to go down there. Tickets were only the 3-day pass I bought. Well, let's see. I bought a 3-day pass for me and my wife, and then I bought the tasting armband for me and my wife. So all that together was $100.
For this year?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, admission and tastings from all the vendors, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming the tasting band is so you get free taste wherever you go, right?
That sounds like when I was living in Colorado one year for my birthday, we went to the Great American Beer Fest.
Oh, yeah.
Which is in Denver.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Talk about an awesome time.
Yeah.
You get a wristband and you get a little like 2-ounce glass, plastic glass.
Yeah.
And you just wander. But the thing is, so when you're there, it's in an expo center with a concrete floor. And every time somebody drops their glass, drops their plastic cup that they get, it makes the super loud noise. And everyone that's around that person points at him and goes, "Whoa!" and just like yells at him or whatever for dropping their glass.
Oh, man.
And it's like, you would think, oh, okay, that happens like 1 or 2 times somebody drops it. No, it happens like once a minute or so. Somebody drops their glass and everyone around them yells
and screams at them.
Yeah, and gives them hell for it.
So now
it's like,
we got some goals for the Bourbon Festival, right?
it's kind of like an unwritten rule, actually. That was one of the things one of my friends, when I told him I was going to the beer fest, he was like, "Oh, have fun. Don't drop your glass."
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
But it's funny. And I'm sure, 2-ounce samples, you drink 15 of those and,
Oh, I was in the
you
bag.
get 30. I mean, go around and drink. I'm thinking, with a wee Glencairn, you might get a half-ounce pour, but goodness gracious, you go around and drink, 10 of those or 12 of those, and you're talking 5 or 6 ounces of bourbon. And it's like, oh, wait. So now this year they changed the name. It's not the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. It is the Bourbon Festival. So
okay.
I don't know why they dropped Kentucky off of it, but it is the Bourbon Festival. I guess because everybody knows bourbon comes from Kentucky. Okay, that's a lie.
Don't be an elitist.
All right, that's a lie. 95% of the bourbon. But it's funny because the stuff we talked about, the Widow Jane, that was Indiana, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's Kentucky Rye. The High West, where did I say that came from? Did I say that was Kentucky?
Well, they're out of Utah, the company.
Right, but the
they're out of
bourbon,
Park City.
that was MGP. No, that was MGP and Kentucky, right?
Yeah, that's right. MGP
Yeah.
and
So Indiana, So obviously, and we've had great guests on our show from all over the place. New York, Texas, Tennessee.
Nevada.
Nevada is killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, Nevada of all places. It's like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, they Family Jones and Prairie Ranch, man. That Prairie Ranch.
No, Family Jones is
Oh,
Colorado.
they're Colorado. I'm sorry,
was,
dude. It was Johnny
Johnny
Jeffries.
Jeffrey and...
Bentley Heritage.
That's right, Bentley Heritage.
Yeah, which they don't have any products out yet.
But when they do...
when they do, yeah. So
look out.
Yeah, my bad. But definitely Nevada. Of all, Smoke Wagon. I mean, they're
Oh, that's right.
they're
yeah.
not distilling out there, but they're producing.
Yeah,
I mean,
Aaron.
they're blending. Aaron Chepanik, the forklift driver.
Yeah, I was just going to say the hardest working man in bourbon.
Swear to God, dude, I'll never forget that as long as I live. It's like, all right, we're going to take a break. He's like, okay, guys, I got to go drive this forklift.
Yeah, and we can see him moving the forklift through the video. Through the camera on his
He's
computer.
like, dude, the dude is not lying. The guy is on a forklift moving an entire pallet of bourbon. That was some classic stuff, man. That was awesome. So other events, other things going on. Oh, Matt, one of my favorites, Elijah Craig. Goodness gracious. We should have talked. I wish I would have known when Connor was on the show. We could have sweet talked him into letting us do this, but they're going to do a barrel proof single barrel pick now.
I heard rumors of this coming down the line.
Man.
So I guess it's official.
It's going to be 9 years old. Apparently, I think they're going to be 9-year-old barrels. But yeah, so a barrel pick single barrel proof, and we've got some great Elijah Craig. Well, I got that bottle that I gave you tonight, the one that I picked up at Kroger a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it was 12 years old, right? I mean, but it's proof down, right, to 94, 94 proof. But my jam, my jam. If anybody doesn't know this by now, barrel proof bourbon Life Bingo. We're killing it on the bingo tonight, man. I love that barrel proof Elijah Craig, and so I'm excited to see what these single barrels turn out to be like, man. I wish we could get in on one of those.
I'm picturing you like cashing in your 401k, all your investments, walking over to Heaven Hill with a briefcase full of money and just saying,
give me all the barrels you can.
I'll be here for the next week picking barrels.
They're all for me. They're just mine. And I don't even have to sell them. I'm just going to put them in my back room down here in the basement, Matt.
Exactly.
And I'll have them forever. So I'm excited about that. I don't know when that's going to start, but Buffalo Trace started doing, like the Stag Junior, right? Mm-hmm. So people were able to pick single barrels of that. So I'm wondering if maybe Heaven Hill felt a little competition or a little, pressure because, Buffalo Trace was letting people move into those, those barrels, the Stag Junior, the higher proof stuff.
Well, it's where the market's going. Bourbon has taken off, and with it, people are now saying, I don't want it proof down. I want it as it's supposed to be, right?
Oh, yeah, man.
So, and if they can pick, shoot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to that. 9 years old, I just wonder what if it's just like, hey, we got a huge supply of 9-year-old barrels, and that's where we're going to go. But everything I've seen seems to indicate that they're going to be 9-year-old barrel picks. So I don't know why. If that was just labeling that they put out, for TTB approval, and that they'll actually be other years, or if it's actually
kind of like the Knob Creeks.
Yeah,
the older labels used to say age 9 years, but some of them are like 14.
Right. So I just wonder if you're going to get in that situation where, okay, yeah, it may say 9 on the label, but you've actually got a 14-year-old barrel or something, or if I don't know. But speaking of Knob Creek, man, I'm still thinking those are some of the best values. those store pick, man, especially when you get that 13, 14, 15-year-old, pick. And it's funny, Matt, because 2 years ago I was just not that big of a Knob Creek fan, and you kept telling me, man, you got to just keep trying them. You're going to like it. And sure enough, I kept trying them, and no doubt Knob Creek is those Knob Creek barrel picks, man. They're 120 proof, but goodness gracious, you get those 13, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. There's some pretty good stuff in there. So, well, Matt, I think we've actually reached the end of Prairie 3. It's funny because when it's you and me, we kind of keep things shorter. We get these guests on here. We just start asking them questions, just let them go and let them keep talking and keep talking and keep talking. It's like, and it's funny because, I tell them, a lot of guys beforehand, it's like, well, so-and-so, went as long, they went an hour and 40 minutes. And it's like, some of these guys, I think, take it as a challenge. It's like, really? Okay. Well, I'm going to see if I can go longer. All right. But before we wrap it up, man, let's get back on this Old Overholt rye. What are your closing thoughts on that?
I love me a good budget rye.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
30 some bucks, man.
Yeah.
I think that might be worth a trip. Actually, my brother lives in Ohio. I may just be like, hey, John, what's up? Do me a favor, man. Run over to the liquor store and see if you can find this for me.
Yeah, I agree. This for the budget category.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
Yeah, man. And that's such an easy drinker at 114. That's what I can't get over, Matt, is how, I hate to use the word smooth, but just how easy it is to drink that, it doesn't set you on fire. You're drinking a rye, you get that nice spicy feeling. But it doesn't just like kick you in the teeth, So yeah. Awesome, man. Thanks for bringing it over. I appreciate that.
Hey, my pleasure.
Now, when you bring a bottle over, you got to leave it, right? Okay.
We'll see about that.
I'm just kidding, dude. All right, man. So Matt, before we wrap it up and get out of here, anything else you want to add?
No, we're super appreciative of everybody for tuning in and being with us through our journey on the Bourbon Life. And we hope that you enjoyed the last little bit with Mark and I. And we would love to hear your suggestions on what you want to hear about, who you want to hear from on the show. And just reach out to us on the socials. And we'll keep doing what we're doing, but we wouldn't do it without you. So thank you all very much.
Yeah, man. Well said, Matt. So like you said, reach out to us, Instagram, Facebook, check out the new website as well. And then honestly, I mean, like you said, let us know if there's people you want on the show, somebody you'd be interested in hearing from. Let us know. We'll reach out. Hey, I'm not afraid to email anybody at this point and ask them to be on our show. I mean, some of the people that I've reached out to, be kind of surprised at who I've thought about and actually sent emails to just to try, but I'm not afraid to do it. So yeah, let us know. Shoot us an email, thebourbonlife@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the show. And again, if you want to hear from other people or something you'd like to see on the show, let us know. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully you made it this long.
Yeah.
Without a guest, just Matt and I bantering back and forth a little bit, but we've had a good time tonight.
Yeah,
for sure.
now is when you're really seeing how much you do or do not enjoy the Bourbon Life podcast.
That's
when
right.
It's just Mark and I. So
that's a good point, Matt. That's very true.
if you made it this far, thank you. If you made it this far, we're sorry.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to say that. All right. Well, yeah, thank you all very much. Do need to thank our sponsors again. Once again, it's the Stave Restaurant out in Millville, Kentucky. Check them out at thestavekentucky.com. And then also 3 Chord Bourbon. We really appreciate their support as well. Check them out, 3chordbourbon.com, and also on Instagram at 3 Chord Bourbon. And with that said, Matt, I'm going to wrap it up. Send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.